Welcome to Soft Feminine. It all started on a Wednesday, the kind of day that feels normal until everything unravels. I had been called to detention, again, for a minor prank I didn't even think was serious. Walking into the classroom, I expected the usual boredom, maybe a lecture. Instead, Mrs. Carlyle, the strictest teacher in the school, was smirking in a way that immediately set my nerves on edge. "Since you seem to struggle with responsibility, perhaps a new approach will help," she said, holding a folded uniform in her hands. My heart sank as I realized what she meant. What is that?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. She raised an eyebrow. "It's the girls' uniform. You will wear it for today's detention. Consider it an experiment in empathy." My mind went blank. I had seen my classmates wear it countless times: crisp white blouse, plaid skirt, knee-high socks, and black flats. It looked innocent enough, but seeing it now, folded neatly in her hands, it felt like a trap. My stomach twisted. I can't," I started, but she interrupted sharply. "Rules are rules. You want to avoid detention, you comply. Or you stay seated here all day. Your choice." Every instinct screamed to run, to protest, to argue. But the look in her eyes, stern, unwavering, made me freeze. Slowly, hesitantly, I accepted the uniform, feeling the weight of humiliation even before putting it on. Once behind the bathroom stall, I changed. The skirt felt alien against my thighs, the blouse tighter than I expected, and the socks strangled my calves. I caught my reflection and froze. The boy staring back had vanished, replaced by a girl who looked almost convincing, almost real. I touched my hair, which had been pinned awkwardly into a half-up style, and swallowed hard. My reflection smirked at me mockingly, as if reminding me of how exposed and vulnerable I was. That's when the real shock hit. This was only the beginning. I wasn't just wearing her uniform. I was stepping into someone else's world, and for the rest of the day, there would be no escaping it. Stepping back into the classroom, I felt every eye on me. Whispers floated through the air like a swarm of bees. My classmates' reactions ranged from shocked laughter to wide-eyed curiosity, and I could feel the heat creeping up my neck. The plaid skirt swished with every step, a sound I'd never noticed before, and the white blouse clung awkwardly to my shoulders. "Whoa, is that him?" one of the guys whispered, nudging his friend. Their laughter was quiet but cutting. My stomach knotted, and I lowered my gaze, trying to shrink into myself. Even my friends didn't know how to react. Lily, who usually teased me endlessly, bit her lip and gave me a hesitant smile. You look different," she said, unsure if she was complimenting or mocking me. I forced a laugh, but it came out strained, high-pitched in a way that made me cringe. Sitting down at my desk, I noticed the way my legs felt exposed in the skirt. Every movement required care, every shift in my seat felt like a performance. My fingers fidgeted with the edge of the blouse, tugging at it nervously. I was hyper-aware of everything: the swish of the skirt, the way the socks hugged my calves, the slight weight of the black flats on my feet. Mrs. Carlyle circled the room, eyes sharp. "Remember, this is about understanding perspective," she reminded me. Every glance she shot my way felt like a spotlight, emphasizing my awkwardness. Recess came, and that was worse. The hallways felt like a runway I didn't want to be on. Boys stared openly, some smirking, others gawking, while girls whispered and giggled behind their hands. I felt a strange mixture of embarrassment, shame, and, unsettlingly, curiosity. I caught myself glancing down at the skirt and blouse, noting how the fabric flowed, how my body looked differently, almost softer. My pulse raced with a confusing mix of panic and fascination. By lunch, my legs were sore, my back stiff from trying to sit properly, and yet my reflection in the cafeteria window made me pause. The boy I had been that morning seemed distant. The girl in the reflection had soft features framed by the pinned-back hair, the skirt accentuating curves I had never noticed before. I turned away quickly, shaking my head, trying to suppress the rising, unfamiliar thrill. When the final bell rang, relief should have washed over me. Instead, I felt a strange sense of reluctance. I had survived the day, endured the stares and whispers, but a seed of curiosity had been planted, one that I couldn't ignore, no matter how much I tried. That evening, I locked my bedroom door and leaned against it, trying to calm my racing heart. The memory of the day, the stares, the whispers, The way every movement in that skirt had felt like a performance, kept replaying in my mind. And then there was the reflection, the girl staring back at me in the cafeteria window, the one I hadn't wanted to admit I found intriguing. I glanced at the uniform still lying on my bed, crisp and untouched since I had returned. Slowly, almost hesitantly, I picked up the skirt and blouse, running my fingers along the fabric. The material felt different in my hands, soft, pliable, yet commanding. I imagined what it would feel like to wear it again, not for punishment, not for humiliation, but just to see. Before I knew it, I was in front of the mirror, sliding the skirt up over my legs. The sensation was strange, alien even, but oddly comforting. The blouse followed, smooth against my skin, shaping my shoulders and chest in a way I had never experienced. I tucked it in, tugged the hem straight, and adjusted the pleats. Then came the socks, the flats, and finally the hairpins to mimic the neat half-up style I had been forced into. I froze when I looked up. The reflection wasn't just a costume anymore. The face staring back at me, softened jawline, delicate cheeks, subtle lips, was starting to feel like me. My hands trembled as I touched my hair, then my cheeks, and finally my lips. There was a vulnerability there, yes, but also an unexpected thrill, a curiosity I couldn't shake. I experimented with my voice next, whispering sentences to the mirror. I'm just trying this on. The tone was higher, lighter, and hearing it made my chest tighten. I tried a laugh, soft and airy, and the sound startled me. My own voice was a stranger, but not an unwelcome one. For hours, I moved around the room, shifting my weight, testing gestures, watching how the skirt flowed with each step. I tried crossing my legs while sitting, tilting my head in the mirror, smiling softly, even practicing walking with a subtle sway. Every small experiment revealed a layer of confidence I hadn't known I could access. My body felt different, more aware, more expressive. Then came curiosity about my image beyond my own room. I grabbed my phone, taking tentative selfies. Each photo was both terrifying and exhilarating. The girl in the images looked alive, playful, and magnetic. I hesitated before sending one to Lily, half expecting ridicule, but something inside me urged honesty. Her immediate reply, a string of laughing emojis followed by "OMG, you look amazing," made my heart leap. Validation or not, it sparked something deeper, the possibility that this version of me could exist beyond secrecy. By the end of the night, I had explored countless small details, the way makeup could enhance eyes, how a slight tilt of my head changed my expression, even the way my hands looked when delicately poised. Every experiment was a revelation, every glance in the mirror a mixture of fear, embarrassment, and undeniable excitement. As I finally peeled off the uniform, folding it neatly, I caught myself staring at it again, lingering. The thrill of the day's detentions had been replaced by an intoxicating curiosity. I was starting to realize, this wasn't punishment anymore. This was discovery. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to stop. The weekend arrived, and with it, a chance to push boundaries. The uniform had been a forced lesson, but now I was curious about how far I could explore this other side of myself. Alone in my room, I pulled it on again, this time with deliberate care, savoring the soft fabric and the way it hugged my shoulders and hips. But I didn't stop there. I added small touches, a hint of eyeliner, a dab of lip gloss, and my hair more neatly styled than ever. Standing in front of the mirror, I practiced small gestures, the tilt of my head, the subtle sway of my hips, the way my hands rested lightly at my sides. Each movement felt more natural than the last, as if my body was learning a secret it had always known but never used. There was still a flutter of nerves, but now it was mixed with something else, confidence, curiosity, even a daring thrill. I decided to test this persona outside the safety of my room. Walking to the corner store, I kept my head high, matching my steps to the rhythm of the skirt swishing against my legs. The world outside was unpredictable. I noticed quick glances from strangers, double takes from boys my age, and smiles, tiny, encouraging smiles, from women who seemed to recognize something familiar. I felt a strange pride, a tiny rush of adrenaline, but also a constant awareness that this was still a secret experiment. At the cafe, I ordered coffee, feeling every eye in the line. My voice wavered initially, soft and higher pitched than usual, but I caught myself, smiled politely, and held the tone steady. The barista's friendly nod made me exhale. Small victories, I realized, counted. Sitting at a table, I sipped cautiously, legs crossed delicately, and caught my reflection in the window. The girl staring back felt alive, confident, and undeniably me. Over the next few days, I experimented further, walking to the park, visiting the bookstore, even taking selfies in different lighting. Each small adventure taught me how to move, speak, and exist in this new persona without fear. The initial embarrassment and awkwardness were gradually replaced with an exhilarating sense of freedom. I was still aware of the eyes that lingered, the whispers that might follow, but I felt increasingly capable of owning my presence, commanding attention without shame. Even at home, the transformation had subtle effects. I noticed my posture improving, my gestures becoming more deliberate and graceful. When my roommates walked in unexpectedly, my heart raced, but I greeted them in the persona, testing reactions, enjoying the thrill of being slightly mysterious. The excitement of secrecy intertwined with the satisfaction of discovery, creating a heady mix of fear and empowerment. By the end of the week, I realized this wasn't a game or a fleeting curiosity anymore. Each experiment, each outing, had taught me something new about myself, about my confidence, my courage, and the joy of inhabiting a different side of my identity. The girl in the uniform was no longer an artificial mask or a punishment. She was an extension of me, one that I was beginning to accept, nurture, and even embrace. Standing once again in front of the mirror, the reflection no longer startled me. Instead, it smiled back with familiarity, a quiet promise of growth and self-discovery. I had crossed a line, yes, but it was one I didn't regret. I was learning to blend fear with excitement, awkwardness with confidence, and secrecy with courage, and in that delicate balance, I was finally starting to feel whole. It happened on Thursday, during chemistry lab. I had carefully crafted my appearance, neat hair, the uniform crisp, makeup subtle but present. I thought I had learned how to move without drawing unnecessary attention. I thought I was in control. Then Mr. Hargrove, our notoriously strict lab teacher, walked in. His eyes scanned the room, and when they landed on me, I felt the air thicken. "And you are?" he asked, eyebrow raised. The question wasn't accusatory, but the weight behind it made my stomach drop. I'm just trying the uniform, sir," I stammered, my voice wavering in a higher pitch than I intended. The other students tittered quietly, eyes darting between me and the teacher. Mr. Hargrove sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I've seen your homework, your attendance, nothing wrong there. But this is unusual." He leaned closer, scrutinizing my features. The moment felt like a spotlight, and I felt completely exposed. I wanted to disappear. "You're embracing something new, I see," he continued slowly, voice softening slightly. My pulse raced. Was he judging me? Curious? Amused? I couldn't tell. My cheeks burned as every fiber of my body screamed for retreat, but a strange defiance began to rise inside me. I like it," I admitted, words escaping before I could stop them. "It feels right, somehow." The room went silent. Whispers froze mid-air. All eyes were on me, and yet I didn't falter. The thrill of honesty, of vulnerability, surged through me. Mr. Hargrove leaned back, nodding slowly. "Then perhaps it's not about hiding who you are, but being aware of it. But remember, balance is key." Relief, shock, and exhilaration collided in me. I had feared ridicule, punishment, even ostracization, but instead, I found understanding. And in that acceptance, I realized I had a choice: retreat into secrecy, let fear dominate, or embrace this new self fully, with courage and confidence. My mind raced as the bell rang. I could hear my classmates murmuring, curiosity still lingering in their tones, but it no longer frightened me. Instead, I felt a quiet thrill, a surge of determination. This confrontation, unplanned and terrifying, had stripped away the last layer of hesitation. I could either shrink back, or step forward and claim this side of myself unapologetically. With a deep breath, I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and walked out of the lab with a newfound grace. For the first time, I wasn't running from the stares or the whispers. I was stepping into them, unafraid, fully aware of the person I was becoming. The days that followed felt different, lighter, bolder, and brimming with possibility. After the lab incident, The initial tension in school had shifted. Some students still whispered, some still glanced, but I no longer flinched. Instead, I walked taller, spoke clearer, and let my gestures carry the quiet confidence I had been cultivating in secret for weeks. At home, I embraced the transformation even more. The uniform became less a costume and more a symbol of self-expression. I experimented with colors, textures, and accessories, subtle earrings, soft scarves, delicate bracelets. I started coordinating outfits with care, considering how each piece complemented the reflection staring back at me in the mirror. Lily noticed the shift immediately. "You're glowing," she said one evening, smiling as we sat on the couch with mugs of tea. "It's like, this isn't just about the uniform anymore. You're you." Her words hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just about looking a certain way, it was about embracing the courage, the vulnerability, the joy of stepping fully into an identity I had once feared. I nodded, smiling softly. "I think I'm starting to like who I'm becoming." The next week, I took the uniform to school once again, this time intentionally accessorized, with subtle makeup and a confident stride. The reactions were varied, some stared, some whispered, but a few smiled warmly. And for the first time, I didn't care. Every glance, every murmur became a reminder of my choice, to live authentically, unapologetically, and with courage. Even my interactions with teachers shifted. Mr. Hargrove approached me after class one day. "You've learned to carry yourself well," he said quietly. "Confidence is contagious." I smiled, a warm rush spreading through me. It wasn't just validation, it was acknowledgement that my self-expression could exist in the real world without shame. By the end of the month, I had transformed not just externally but internally. I had learned to blend curiosity with confidence, playfulness with self-respect, and vulnerability with empowerment. The uniform, once a source of fear and embarrassment, had become a catalyst for self-discovery. Sitting in my room that evening, folding the skirt and blouse carefully, I felt an unexpected pride. The journey had been messy, confusing, and sometimes terrifying, but it had also been thrilling, enlightening, and deeply rewarding. I had claimed a part of myself I had hidden for too long, and now, that part wasn't just visible, it was alive, confident, and unstoppable. Looking back now, I realize this journey wasn't just about a uniform, a skirt, or a few weeks of experimenting. It was about courage, authenticity, and self-acceptance. I had been terrified of what others might think, consumed by the fear of judgment and ridicule. But stepping into that fear, confronting it, and embracing it taught me more about myself than months of hiding ever could. I learned that identity isn't something to be locked away or whispered about in secret. It's something to inhabit fully, boldly, and unapologetically. Every glance, every whisper, every small victory became a lesson in confidence and empowerment. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a reflection, I see someone who dared, someone who grew, someone who learned to turn fear into strength. And that, more than anything, is the true transformation.